Let's move on now to the Philadelphia Eagles in our key play series. And to be completely honest, there's a lot of people that Ryan and I discussed and debated on it, but we ended up actually, for the first time, not going with someone on the offensive side of the ball, but actually the defensive side of the ball. It was their first pick in the 2023 draft, Jalen Carter, and why we feel his success is going to honestly hinder and be a key contributor to the overall Philadelphia Eagles success in the 2023 season. But before we do that, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified when we release new Eagles content. We have a lot more content scheduled, which includes a lot of preseason content, season predictions, also weekly game predictions. So if you want to see those and see why we have the Eagles probably winning a majority of the weeks, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when those videos come out. And Ryan, we debated a lot, as I mentioned. We kind of maybe want to do one of the running backs. I think A.J. Brown was also potentially in there as well. A lot of other different players. But we ended up actually going with Jalen Carter on the defensive side of the ball. And I really like this because I haven't talked a lot. Why do you feel Jalen Carter is a key player for them?
So I think you look back at Javon Hargrave and what he brought to the table last year, and he was just a menace in the middle of that defense, right? And he really allowed them to have Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham on the outside just get after the quarterback a lot because he provided so much pressure in the middle that giving him a one-on-one matchup would be extremely disadvantaged. Would put the guard at an extreme disadvantage. And so I think if Jalen Carter can come in and do that same thing, that defense will have a pretty similar output as they did last year. But if he comes in, he is struggling to contribute right away, or just isn't, I don't want to say in shape because of his offseason, but he isn't ready to play, then that's when I think this Eagles defense, we could see them take a pretty big step back because they relied so much on those guys in the middle that it would be hard for them to replicate what they did last year without similar production. And so that's why I think if the Eagles are going to be, I say as dominant, I mean, they were probably, I think they had 3 or 4 players with double-digit sacks last year.
Yeah, it's something
like
absurd.
Yeah, like, so even if they take a step back and they fall into like a top 10 defense in the league, they're still going to be really good. But like if they want to maintain that top defense in the NFL status, Jalen Carter needs to come in and be a pretty immediate role player.
Yeah, I also think too as well. One of the things kind of also leading off of that, and this is speculative, of course, but it's like if he comes in and in that scenario, as well as what you're talking about, where maybe he's not in the best shape or he's not motivated or anything like that, that's going to be kind of a morale killer, I would think, because like, hey, we just spent our we had 2 first-round picks, and we spent it on this guy who already had character issues, and now he's proving like all those people correct, and it felt like it kind of could have been a waste compared to what else they could have gotten. As well. They also traded up for a guy. They traded up a pick as well, even though it was just, I think, 1 4th or 5th round pick or something like that with the Bears. But it still could have been somebody else, or they were going to trade up, gone and gotten their guy as well. And so I agree with you as well. And it's also probably maybe unfair. Maybe the expectations are a little high because he does have to replace Javon Hargrave's shoes. But one of the things that made the Eagles extremely successful last year was their ability to win a game in any different way. They won shootouts. They won like defensive juggernaut barn burners where it was 13-10. I think they beat the Colts, 17-16 or something like that. Like not a good game. They should have blown the Colts out of the water.
Yeah.
But what at the heart of that was a consistent offensive and defensive line. And if they're not consistent on the defensive line, and as what you're talking about, there's a big hole constantly because Carter's just not winning his battles and not being the mismatch that he needs to be, that we all know he can be.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big factor. That's going to be a huge factor because if there is something I would say that might be a little bit of a weakness for the Eagles, not I'm probably being nitpicky here, so feel free to comment on my nitpickiness, but probably is maybe their linebacking core. That might be maybe a little bit of a weakness for them. So if guys are getting to the second level, that's not good for that Eagles defense. Well, it's just not good in general, but particularly for the Eagles.
Yeah. And I would say weak spot with air quotes, because I think this defense is pretty solid all around. But like, if you're going to pick a point, I think that is the weakest point. Yeah.
Weakest point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So that's why I think maintaining that interior defensive line dominance is crucial for this team, because honestly, too, I think we kind of know what we're going to get from the offense. The offensive line is going to be solid, especially with Jason Kelsey and all the guys returning as well. They did lose Miles Sanders, but then they got Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift in the offseason. They can easily replace his stats. And so just on overall total stats, they do a running back by committee anyways. And Jalen Hurts is proven to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And they have one of the best receiving trios as well as, and they have Dallas Goedert at the tight end, or Goddard, sorry. But that's why when looking at all that stuff, Jalen Carter is a clear X factor, because sometimes the offense isn't going to be able to show up, but you have to be able to win in the trenches week in and week out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but let's just go ahead and wrap up the video there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And leave a comment down below on what you think of Jalen Carter. Do you think he's going to be able to fill in for Javon Hargrave's shoes? Do you think he's going to need a year to kind of maybe take a redshirt year and rest up, get back in shape, build up his strength, and yeah. But let us know down below. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.